We're coming up on the last round of day number 1 here in the Hearthstone Masters Tour in Seoul, South Korea. Welcome back, everyone, from the commentator's desk. After 6 rounds of play, more than half the field has already started dropping as we get to see where the chaff separates from the wheat. My name is Frody. I'm joined by Gia. And coming up next, what do we got here, Gia?
We've got Sooni versus GeneraL, and we did get to see Sooni a while ago take a win in the Priest Mirror against Muliwang, which generated, I think, one of the best clips of the day with that Circle of Healing overdraw with the Clerics for lethal.
It was
Although
very funny.
we're not quite going to see a Priest Mirror this time, though. It'll be a Warrior from GeneraL, which I think is the matchup that Priest probably struggles the most against.
Yes, it is the one class I think Priest doesn't want to hit. At the same time, maybe there's some tech in the second and tertiary decks, because when you go up against a field like this, you are anticipating hitting some warriors and some mages. So if you do have your primary deck good against it, maybe you have some slots to help tilt the percentages into your favor. On the other side, is Warrior expecting a class like Priest, you think?
They probably aren't directly, but I feel like the natural package of Warrior just lines up pretty well against what Priest wants to do, which is stick early boards and snowball that. Warrior can shut down boards very easily. And on top of that, they're now running this taunt package, which is very problematic for a deck that just wants to hit you in the face with a 2020 or something.
It's true, and they do have some definitive answers. The new Plague card that Warrior got that can just destroy a bunch of stuff. And, Warrior also just has nice other mechs that they can pick up in their Omega assemblies and whatnot. GeneraL is on your screen, and, it's kind of been a nice rise throughout the years. The first time I heard about GeneraL was through Pavel, who told me about this player back in 2017, right after Pavel won the World Championship. He told me that it was a player that he practiced with and he respects a lot. And ever since then, GeneraL's been streaming a little bit, also competing a lot, and still very much at the upper echelons of Hearthstone competitive play.
It's very cool to hear that there's certain players that these players that we know very well also respect, and maybe they haven't had that big breakout performance. But when you get someone like Pavel vouching for you, I think that only indicates good things.
It was when Pavel was also at his peak. He won the World Championship, won the Game Goo tournament afterwards, and then almost qualified for BlizzCon again in the 2017 Winter Championship, where he was 1 round away.
Right.
Well, this is GeneraL's Bomb Warrior deck. I apologize. It's not Control Warrior, but it is good old-fashioned plant stuff in your opponent's deck and wait for them to explode. Or is it?
It's labeled Bomb Warrior, but I'm not seeing any bomb generation cards in the list.
Yes, or Blastmaster Boom.
Yeah, it's a little bit misleading. I do think it is Control Warrior. It's just a bit of a graphical error. Sorry, guys.
The Frightened Flunky was actually our graphics designer.
Shaggy, how could you?
Yeah, apologies there. But you could pick up bombs through a Mega Assembly. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
Secondary deck, Baleful Banker, Cairn Bloodhoof, McKenna Whelp, the Undertaker, in case he needs to win against other warriors. And then tertiary, Crown Crier, Acolyte of Pain, Big Game Hunter, and Plague of Wrath for the mages.
Yes, exactly. And I do think with this type of matchup, he should be sticking with the primary. I feel like the greed from the secondary is really not that necessary. And BGH, although on paper seems like it should be able to deal with Priest big minions, they probably just won't cast Inner Fire until they have lethal. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, on Sooni's end, very streamlined deck. Lots of 2-ofs. We got Topsy Turvy, Forbidden Words, and Witchwood Piper, and High Priest Amet as the only cards that are singletons. Meanwhile, secondary deck with the Deadringer, Seance, Coffin Crasher, Chef, Nomi, Octosari. That's some spicy
I love it. Spicy octopus. That sounds like a delicacy to me, Frodan.
Sounds like dinner in 45 minutes.
I am pretty hungry too. Seance and Chef Nomi being one of the best ways to try and combat Warrior, because it necessitates that they have one of their AoE effects. Although it's not just Brawl these days, it's Plague of Wrath as well.
Yeah, so I want to see if either of those decks really come into play, but kind of like what you're saying, maybe Sooni wants more streamlined efforts. Despite this, how does Priest get the win over Warrior? Is it simply partitioning the resources, or is it kind of being aggressive and hoping that their opponent doesn't have the removal?
I think it is a mix of both. As with many matchups, Priest really just wants to stick a 1-drop and go extra arms, because actually the stat line of 3-5 on turn 2 is pretty problematic for Warrior. It's around turn 4 where they get their good removal with Military Commander, with Restless Mummy, and things like that.
It's true.
So that chip damage in the early turns can be pretty relevant because it seems like the damage cutoffs from priests are at very specific multiples.
It's true.
It's tough to say what the exact ones are, but maybe 14 is a relevant number because a Met times 2, and things like that.
Yeah, it's very relevant. A Met has also been one of the more important cards to time correctly, or you might just get that early Light Warden start and completely stomp the Warrior. Admittedly, I have not played a lot of Control Warriors since the expansion has started, but I played against plenty of Control Warriors on ladder. And I gotta say that it's still pretty ugly, because I did play this Priest deck a little bit, and I was just getting thrashed by all the Warriors out there.
It's true, especially this version. I think that Sooni and Muliwang were running did not include Light Warden. I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse against Warrior, but they are running a bit more of the removal package, which I feel like should be a bit worse against Warrior.
All right, let's go into the first game here. GeneraL and Sooni looking to finish out day number 1 with a good record to wrap things up. 6-1 would put them in a great spot. Not the best possible one at 7-0, but you just have to win a few more. I believe X3 make the cut just barely if you have a really good tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And then X2 is a guaranteed, I think, top 8 spot.
If Vegas is any indicator, I think the bottom 2 of top 16 had a 9-3 score. Or, don't quote me on that, but it is only the very best of the 9-3s that are able to make it to the 3rd day. So these guys definitely want to get as many wins under their belt as early as possible.
All right, and with that, does GeneraL keep some of those important cards like Dr. Boom, Mad Genius, that shuts down a lot of the board development that Sooni can have?
I'm definitely on board for that. Frightened Flunky is also just a great thing to have on curve, so this mulligan seems just completely logical to me.
It is pretty fascinating to me that GeneraL and a lot of Control Warriors are just putting our Mega Dio in all their decks, given that it's just kind of like a traditional mid-range card, and yeah, it just goes to like a control package because there's a lot of good taunts in it.
Yeah, and I keep saying this, but Frightened Flunky is just such an insanely high power level card because the only 2 class taunts for Warrior in Standard right now are Flunky and Armadillo. And so you're very likely to discover things that have synergy with each other and the rest of your deck. So GeneraL already going for Assembly on 1, which indicates that he knows this is not a value matchup. He simply has to remove all the threats from Priest. And in the face of Warrior, I don't think it's very many threats at all. When this is a deck that's used to removing 8/8s on the regular.
That's a good draw too. The Wild Pyromancer means that Sooni can utilize it to deal damage to the board and then draw a bunch of cards with Circle of Healing.
Right.
And then at that point, you'd like to keep your Northshire Cleric, but you know, you've also gotten a lot of value off the card draw, so it wouldn't be the end of the world if she decides to change her career at that point.
So it's kind of an unfortunate outcome for GeneraL here that if he plays the Flunky, that guarantees that Sooni can get a draw just with the value trade, so he's just gonna essentially pass the turn here. Wow.
I'm pretty tempted just to give her another arm. Arms.
Yeah, I mean, how do they deal with this on turn 3? I don't know if it's... don't think there's an Execute in the primary. And not nearly enough armor for Shield Slam. Yeah, no Execute in primary. So the answers for the Cleric don't actually start until turn... I was going to say turn 4, but even the double Restless Mummies is not enough to get through 7 health.
So Torn Warrior and the Injured Tolvir, not great, but in our Mega Dio. Nice. Okay, so does Sooni draw the cards here in this spot? There's no minions for Psycho Pump to actually summon.
So there's a curious thing he can do, which is expending a Circle of Healing first, which allows him to then go Shield and then get through the Flunky with the Pyro, and so you can push the Cleric face. I'm not sure if it's worth giving up the card draw. Probably not.
Yeah, this Circle of Healing represents 4 cards, potentially.
So he's actually just not going for Pyro at all this turn, which I think I can totally get behind as well. Because now with 9 health, the Cleric still survives Restless Mummy and the... or not. Oh, going for this. Yeah, this seems really smart.
Yeah, getting the double draw off the injured Blade Master was a really nice pickup here. Now there's 2 threats for GeneraL to consider for the Divine Spirit.
Seems like Super
Oh my
Collider is
goodness.
the, ooh, I was gonna say lone answer, but that could get good in a couple more turns.
Yeah, Plague of Wrath is a very nice card for the Warrior class, particularly because of Warpath. I don't know if GeneraL wants to use anything like that right now. He could also just slap this War Gear on right now.
Problem is, it's still not enough attack to trade over any single target. So he might be very interested in holding onto coin for specifically a turn 5 coin war, turn 6 coin warpath Plague of Wrath. But will he be near dead by then?
There's a chance that he could just die if
True.
the Divine Spirit Inner Fire comes out, and
Mhm.
then he takes 22.
Not a pleasant number.
It's almost that time for the turn. Omega Devastator would be the play that you were kind of suggesting, right? Like saving it for 2 more turns afterwards.
This trade is indicating coin Plague of Wrath though, which I am not entirely opposed to. The cleric is far too threatening.
Yeah, and cutting off the card draw engine too can oftentimes starve the priest into making really weak plays for a while, but that's where a Psychopomp can come in too.
Wow, an inner fire off this shield could represent 18 damage.
The end begins.
Yeah, the one of Plague of Wrath being used too has got to feel very good for Sooni. I think I like holding on to this powered shield, yeah, and especially because he does have Wild Pyromancer.
Exactly.
So, GeneraL, now that he's spent his turn removing, stuck in a very similar spot. How many times have we seen this before, where you remove a big threat only for your opponent to develop it and you're back in the same spot?
I've seen it more from Mage, but, you know, Priest gets the job done too.
Oh, man. So, if you're Sooni, it's now the time to draw a bunch of cards. And you know what?
I like it.
I kind of like it. There's multiple ways to do it. You don't even necessarily need a Wild Pyromancer, but it's very effective to do it this way.
There was even an option to throw in the Acolyte there, but I think having a little bit of mana left over leaves him options for the rest of the turn. And only reduce it. Well, you could have technically gotten 2 more draws, but that might have even just been overdrawing.
I kind of want to drop this Ritualist too. Yes, I like this idea because then you can restore things back to full health and
Perfect amount of cycle as well.
Yep.
And now he's hitting Unforbidden Words and Silence, so even if there were some type of taunts to come out, Sooni just has this in the bag.
Yeah, GeneraL looks very dead. He hasn't even gotten to his Dr. Boom Mad Genius to unlock all of the treasures that's in store.
He needed Brawl exactly for this situation. Granted, he can go for triple Warpath, which deals with everything except a 4/4 Blade Master.
What now?
Yeah, the damage has been done. Cleric's already drawn everything, and so Sooni should be able to redevelop.
Bear in mind, with Sooni's list, there's not only the 2 inner fires, but also a 1 of Topsy-Turvy, I think. Yeah, in the primary list. So
I like
there's
it.
a lot of ways to get the lethal.
Yeah,
All 3
people-
of them in the bottom 10, though.
Well, people did that a lot back in the day when Skulking Geist was a relevant threat.
Ah.
Hate to see that, Psychopomp.
You know,
Summoning a Psychopomp.
it's still a lot of stats for 4 mana.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it was pretty much like almost anything else
True.
that you'd want to hit.
So the rest of the turn, I feel like I wouldn't hate just healing this or... Extra Arms does make more sense. You push a little bit more, and he still gets the Twin Spell off of this. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Extra Arms was sort of a predecessor of the Twin Spell mechanic.
I didn't realize it wasn't actually Twin Spell. I just straight up called it Twin Spell, thinking it was.
It's not.
Wow, yeah.
Its card text says add extra or add more
Yeah.
arms to your hand, which is essentially Twin Spell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and that's a lot of mechanics in Hearthstone are kind of like that. They test different things and see if they like it.
The way that I value Reborn as well is basically reverse Divine Shield. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, like Redemption, the secret as well. It makes sense too. Dr. Boom at Genius gains 7 life, goes to 19. There's 12 showing with 2 in hand.
And a lot of top decks for lethal.
Yes.
There you go. Divine Spirit should be able to take care of this along with,
Extra arms.
or this way. Yeah, there's tons of, as long as he can get the Blade Master to have more health.
Yeah, precisely. There's a lot of ways to win here from Sooni, and that's going to wrap up game number 1. Nicely done by the Priest player, and Warrior was a class that's doing, pretty well, but Sooni able to dissect it.
Yeah, and it did come down to that question you asked earlier on before the matchup even started, is it important to try and get some aggression in the early game? And I think we can soundly say, yes, very important. Cleric with extra arms really carried the first half of that game.
Yeah, Cleric extra arms feels kind of like the Mana Worm, start of years of yore in Hearthstone at this point, where if you had Mana Worm on 1, it was kind of just made the deck and just gave it like the win percentage it needs to stay relevant. Without it, it felt like the deck struggled a lot with Tempo Mage back in the day.
That is a very good comparison, and that also scares me deeply for the future of North Shore Cleric. Is a 2-mana tag in its future. I hope not.
Maybe. I mean, not necessarily that I want North Shore Cleric to be nerfed, but it's just like, one of those things where it's an iconic 1-mana 1/3 that can just single-handedly drive the outcome of the game. And you can see why. And also partially why a lot of us, when we were reviewing cards, were very hyped for Priest Tempo or Tempo Priest, because there's a lot of opportunities for you to grab early game with extra arms being at 2 mana. So the more you can have sticky minions through like a simple Resurrect effect, or in this case Reborn with Psychopomp, really hard to remove, even for a class that's dedicated to just removing all your stuff.
Yeah. We can see some movement though onto the different lists, I think, for Warrior. We did say that maybe none of these actually seems like it's objectively better against Priest. There is the list that includes 2 Brawl instead of...
Right.
Sorry. 2 Brawl is in the main deck as well. It's definitely not going to be the secondary with the greedy stuff. I can say that for sure.
Yeah, I think the anti-control list isn't really what's going to be needed whatsoever with the Undertaker.
Right.
Instead, if he really wants to play the removal package, he totally can. Don't feel like it's necessary at all. From Sooni's perspective, he's got to feel good. I mean, that was his primary deck. He probably has other ways where he maybe was thinking about even going against Warrior and boosting his percentages. I'm not sure if he feels the need to.
I think he should, because the secondary, I don't know what it's trying to target if not Warrior. With cards like Coffin Crasher, Chef Nomi, Octosari. So the Coffin Crasher pulls Octosari.
Yeah, release the Kraken.
Dead Ringer also pulls Octosari.
Dead Ringer pulls the Octosari.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And just
Coffin Crasher.
Exactly.
Which pulls out the Octosari.
It's very centered on getting the Octosari effect so that the Nomi is active more quickly.
Yes.
And then you can seance the Nomi, and then Warrior is just kind of sad. And we see GeneraL actually move to his tertiary, which includes the BGHs.
To kill the Octosari.
Yes, everything in this universe revolves around this octopus.
Yes, and I've seen enough Japanese cartoons to know where this is going. North Shore Cleric on 1. How does this happen every game? I feel like Priest when you play Priest in a tournament like this, you have like a 79% chance of having North Shore Cleric in your opening hand.
It's particularly Sooni since he's been on stream. He did face the mirror, and his opponent, Physicskin, did not have Cleric on 1. But Sooni, I think, is a Cleric Whisperer.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got all of the Death Rattle package in hand already.
Yeah, actually, so Dead Ringer doesn't pull anything anymore?
I don't think it does.
Well, that's unfortunate.
But we will see the Octosari guaranteed this game, and that's what matters.
Gotcha.
So Coin Blade Master is available.
Yep. GeneraL doesn't really answer very often on 3.
I don't think there is. There's still no execute in this list. It's the double BGHs.
So you should be able to heal it unless the 1/3 goes down. I don't think the North Shore Cleric's going to go down anyways, though.
Yeah, I like it.
GeneraL has a Town Crier, but now that he sees Sooni has the ability to heal a minion anyways, it might feel moot for him to hold on to it. Before he had the Town Crier, but didn't want to give a card draw to Sooni.
Agreed. So this is guaranteed to pull Restless Mummy. And the important thing for GeneraL is that should the game go to that very late game plan that Octosari indicates, which is getting to the Nomi and then seancing the Nomi, GeneraL has answers for 2 Nomi boards at the very least in hand.
Sooni hesitate and think whether or not it's worth killing this Town Crier or pushing the damage.
I quite like the push. Not sure what type of cutoffs you're scared of that the additional 1 damage.
Does he know for a fact that there's no Militia Commanders in any of the 3 deck lists? Because we don't know for sure if GeneraL's playing just for the primary or tertiary deck.
It's true. So
he
take
does
a
end up
quick
trading.
gander at this.
Quick
Yeah,
gander.
yeah. No.
There's no Militia Commander?
Yeah, none.
Okay.
Across any of the 3.
So then the trade is to
Play around something that we're not thinking of, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he sat and thought about it for a long time, so he's clearly thinking about something. But
No tomb can hold me.
Interesting that GeneraL didn't preemptively trade into the injured Blade Master to try and get it to kill off or maximize his damage here. I guess that makes sense given that he does have Dynamatic, so he can trade the following turn and then Dynamatic optimally.
You probably just wanted to have some minion presence on board while at the same time removing the cleric, and the only way to do that was this way. Because the 3-1 would have died to the cleric if he had traded first.
Yes.
So the Psychopomp is guaranteed to bring back a cleric. Probably not enough value for this situation. But the rest of the options look very awkward.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in Sooni's position, is he just going to heal and play Deadringer? I think seems to be like the most effective way to utilize his mana. But this gives GeneraL. He doesn't even have to utilize his Dynamatic anymore because his Restless Mummy just answers the Injured Blade Master.
Yeah, he could very well just play Devastator. A little bit off curve.
Yeah, it's off curve, but it works.
Yeah, one thing we noted from watching the Priest mirror is that Priest just is not able to come back on board. They don't play very much removal, and there might not be any at all in this tertiary list. So once Warrior is able to swing the board, they can suddenly just start trading and don't even have to use things like Brawl to come back.
Right, Sooni was playing like Forbidden Words, but I think that might have been taken out for the tertiary deck.
Yeah, I don't see it. So is the Topsy-Turvy.
Yeah, it makes sense. You need to cut stuff for the Octopus, you know? It'd be kind of funny if Octosari counted as 8 slots in your deck. Dynamatic. The GeneraL gonna go for the full clear. Also sees no draw of the Deadringer, which means he should know 2 cards in the hand from Sooni.
Is a better outcome for Sooni? No armor, so the shield summon seems pretty counterintuitive.
Yeah, these big game hunters also just kind of laughing at GeneraL in his face.
If only GeneraL had an inner fire of his own.
Sure, or Topsy-Turvy or Crazed Alchemist, I guess. Wouldn't have enough mana to play all that.
I wonder.
It is very awkward. I don't see a way that he can even clear this Blade Master this turn. And so he's
yeah.
probably taking the value trade and then playing Devastator. There's an argument for holding on to this, but I feel like having something to contest right now is more relevant than possibly removing something efficiently on turn 10. Because he's got such a, you know, varied suite of removal for later on.
Sort of. His single target removal is conditional. It's conditioned upon how much armor he has or his opponent having the right attack. So he probably feels like if he can just power through a few more turns, he's going to be able to have all the removal options at his disposal. However, I'm on your side. I think that GeneraL might not have the luxury of doing that, especially when we release the Kraken.
Yeah.
It's going to get all slappy up in here.
It's possible that the Octosari overdraws the Nomi, but I feel like that's the least of Sooni's problem since he's had pretty iron grip on the board so far.
Yes. Very suction cuppy grip over the board.
Are you trying to find a way to throw in octopus references at everything I
Yes,
say?
that is our job as narrators of what's happening in front of us. To take every low-hanging fruit joke possible, Gio.
Low-hanging tentacles in this case, I suppose.
Yes. Oh, yeah. GeneraL picks up the Warden. That's not going to do anything in this position.
I think it's getting bad enough that you might just play a BGH here. Okay, he had a shield slammable target. Yes.
Still kind of like in an okay life total. He's at 32. Just, you know, hope for no ritualist. Sooni can also go for another Psycho Pomp. I mean, 2 Injured Blade Masters are dead in the pool versus the 1 North Star Cleric.
Yeah, and a Dead Ringer.
Oh, and a Dead Ringer, you're right. So in that
So-
case, it's a lot worse.
I'm looking at the Met with Psycho Pump for next turn, which is just such a good power combo.
It is a very good combo.
And it's quite unlikely that he has to worry about overdraw right now, given that to get the Octosari Death Rattle, first GeneraL needs to go through the Coffin Crasher Death Rattle, and then deal with the Octosari.
Or he can make a Septisari. Give Acolyte 7 health. It's basically a really bad version of Naruto, where it's like the different tailed beasts. And like, there's only one that really matters, right?
I can see that.
Oh, interesting. Sooni heals the injured Tolvir instead of the injured Blade Master as a nod to potential other ways that he can protect his board.
I think particularly Warpath there.
Yeah.
Although, maybe GeneraL, there is a world where he tries and goes for overdraw. Not quite to the point where Fatigue in one turn kills Sooni, but maybe he can try and burn the Nomi, which is a win condition, I would say, against Warrior.
Fair enough. For now, looks like he's favoring this brawl. He does also have the Armageddon Tomb Warden combo. GeneraL sitting up, just mulling over his possibilities. He has 1 taunt minion in the hand through the Tomb Warden, and that's not really going to be enough to stop Sooni here. Although 2 5/8s are very nice and sizable.
On paper, he has Warpath, Plague of Wrath as an option, but GeneraL should have noticed that the Dead Ringer did not pull anything, therefore he's sure that Octosari is in hand. Even if the Dead Ringer did pull something, and he saw the Coffin Crasher, that would mean that it's definitely Octosari. So he doesn't have the luxury of just killing the Coffin Crasher, because he would just take 8.
All right, Sooni picks up the Divine Spirit. We kind of talked about the High Priest Amet and the Psychopomp combos.
I'm definitely still looking at that. It seems like the Coffin Crasher is going to take a value trade, which means that it's likely to die the turn after, which means that Octosari is going to hit the board, so I want to dump this hand.
I like that line of thinking. You can even trade the Injured Blade Master preemptively to try to get a better Resurrect off the Psychopomp.
Yes. The correct order.
Sooni's got to go relatively soon. His turn's about 75% over.
Gotta go Sooni.
Nice.
I see a
Talk about low-hanging fruit, Dan.
I'm not complaining. Well done. And there you go. The correct order was rewarded. GeneraL's like,
This creates a board state that Warpath alone cannot deal with, that if Brawl comes down, Octosari is then a threat, and he's 1 mana short of being able to go Brawl into BGH.
yes, or Omega Devastator,
Right.
either of them would have been all right. So in this position, what do you do?
I think it still involves brawling.
What now?
and just accept that you're taking at least 8 next turn. Unless the Coffin Crasher survives.
Yeah, but then you're still taking 10.
Yeah, because of the reborn effect. Wow, this is actually such a sticky board.
The Coffin Crasher Octosari seems fairly brilliant.
Yeah. I could see this winning Soul. I'm going to call it right here.
Okay. I mean, people are calling Priest the meta breaker of the tournament. And this is supposed to be a class that is good against the Priest. And now GeneraL has the Brawl. And there's a lot of bad outcomes.
There was also the option of Warpath, Plague of Wrath, and then Warpath again to deal with the Reborn. But that leaves an 8-7 Octosari.
Ooh, man.
Wow.
Staring at a lot of Damahe.
An Inner Fire
15.
off the top or Topsy-Turvy just ends this.
He can have another Octosari in his hand. Just think about that for a second.
I did.
16 tentacles. It's a lot.
He has exactly 16 cards left in deck. That seems like an indicator to me. That's an
It's a
active
sign.
Nomi right there.
Wait, he's
but
doing it. Oh, he's
yeah.
doing the Sand Salt to the second.
Probably more responsible. And I
don't
misspoke
know,
a
There's
while
a lot
ago.
of junk that died. Ooh.
Good point. But yeah, there is actually no Topsy-Turvy in the tertiary. That's my bad. Sooni's just thinking about whether he wants to dump
Sorry.
more cards
I
to
just-
make sure he doesn't overdraw Nomi, but it's
So you
quite
just
unlikely.
Throw
he
the
does.
Pyromancer in there. Opponent just did use a wide removal spell. You are going to draw a lot of cards. What is Pyromancer even good for?
I couldn't say particularly.
Nothing stands out to me in particular. It's not like GeneraL has a wide board himself. Perhaps Sooni's thinking about the value of healing as well.
Wow, I was thinking Divine Spirit was the least expendable of these. GeneraL's been holding on to removal for the entirety of the game.
Yeah.
This kind of plays around Devastator, but it doesn't play around double BGH, and it doesn't play around the Warpath Plague of Wrath.
Well, if your opponent has BGH, you still have a sizable amount of pressure on the board. GeneraL's at
Sure.
8 health, so it's, you know, if you just like stick 10 damage, you're
What
good enough.
now?
This Warpath Plague of Wrath.
I just feel like the Divine Spirit represents so much possible burst later on in the game.
Fair enough.
And the silence is also very important to be able to remove a taunt.
Do you want to Plague of Wrath, or do you just want to BGH here? You're basically doing it for 3 extra life. Something that GeneraL's thinking about.
What
If you just
now?
Warpath again at BGH, you're gaining comparable amounts of life. Okay. Full clear.
Full hand too, coming right up.
Ooh, yeah. All right, he burns a card. Which card is it?
Oh, your gasp
man.
got me really worried there, Frodan.
I was worried.
Now I'm just kind of thinking about what if you put extra arms on an octopus so it has 8 tentacles and 2 arms.
That's the Juby. That's when Uchiha Madara pops out from the middle of the board and puts everyone under the Tsukiyomi Sharingan curse.
All right,
That's
you
right,
lost me with about half of those words, Frodan. I'm sorry.
I am ashamed.
Don't be. I'm sure that entertained a decent amount of chat.
you. How could you not understand that reference to you?
Oh, okay. Well, I have no comeback to that. I'm just gonna retreat into my corner here.
No, you're doing just fine.
So, Devastator Armadillo is the most board presence he can get this turn, and it buffs Ziliax.
It's true. Buffing Ziliax is fairly relevant given how much life he has. But in this case, I do like gaining life as well.
Precision.
There still is the threat of, you know, any minion that can kill him. Plus, the silence is also in the deck. It's a very real tech. In fact, is this lethal? Silence. Extra arms, more arms, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire.
1 off. Unfortunate. but there is still a Nomi.
Must consider.
The thing to note is that I think the silence needs to come down this turn to prevent further lifesteal, which means that it's coming down on a turn when there isn't lethal.
Right. And that means if General sets up a wall that's hard for Sooni to pass, that might complicate things.
Yep. This might be very results oriented, but what you suggested about seancing the Octosari might have actually been better.
Well, I mean, I'm
Might.
trying. Right now, what I'm thinking about. Well, okay, I'm thinking about having 2 octopus now, so that's what's on my mind. But the second thing that I'm thinking about, octopi, octopuses. I don't really know, but I'm thinking about if Sooni missed a damage at any point in this game. You know, it's one thing where it's like, remember we trade into the Town Crier instead of push full damage?
That's a very good point.
It's like things like that where you're like, yeah, it's just a little bit of damage. How, is that going to really matter? And it's like, well, yeah, you could have just killed him.
You used to be at way more liberty to think that way when Shadow Visions was still a card for Priest, but now that they only have access to strictly 2 Divine Spirits per game, it is very important to make sure that you get the warrior to certain cutoffs, although all those cutoffs kind of change every game because on top of just doubling, you have things like Powered Shield, you have extra arms, and so on.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm not exactly sure, again, why Sooni traded into that Town Crier, but he was playing around something, so we don't know if the landscape of the game would have been looking similar, right? He might not have had the same board, the same damage, the same board presence.
Still in a good spot, though.
Armageddon, plus the Restless Mummy clears off 2 of these minions and puts a wall in the way.
One of Silence has been used as well. Kibler and I determined that you can tell whether Armageddon buffs anything because there's an animation at the end. So Sooni will know that there are no further taunts in hand for GeneraL, I think.
Should be, yes.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Actually, no. It's a bad idea. I was thinking about it, whether or not you actually just go for the inner fire. And I just can't. I can't get behind it because I'm the threat of Big Game Hunter.
Yep. And Sooni is hyper aware of this, which is why he chooses to preemptively Divine Spirit. Very smart. Just use the Pyro for the 1 extra tick of damage.
Interesting.
This is playing around Devastator as well.
Yes. The second Devastator?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. The second Devastator. You're a prophet.
Sooni, the genius!
Shield block. It won't play around Shield Slam Mega Devastator. Okay, well the Warden's not going to do anything in this spot.
I mean, GeneraL just puts the damage onto it, right? Because the threat of inner fire is too
It's true.
too much.
Yes. Do you toss in the Acolyted Pain here?
I don't hate it. I mean,
I think we're pretty desperate.
yeah, Dr. Boom sooner rather than later sounds pretty nice for GeneraL.
Sooni rather than later.
Sooni rather than lady.
I'll take the lady. Acolyted Pain could also pick up more removal options. You said there's 2 brawls in this variant, and he does need to take down Chef Nomi. The one thing to consider is that Sooni did use his copy of Seance, and that's supposed to be something that he uses for Chef Nomi.
Supposed to be, but I think Sooni had definitely a more flexible game plan in mind. So there's still, I think, another Divine Spirit remaining.
I am not sure, actually, about that. I think he used one earlier, but I could be misremembering from the previous game.
Me too.
Well, definitely want to kill the Acolyte. And I definitely want to push this 6 to the face. Oh, a Plague of Wrath #2. I'm thinking GeneraL's going to get there.
There is an argument for trading just to protect the Cleric, which will mean that Nomi is active next turn already between the natural draw and the heal. But granted, you would have to stick both the Cleric and a damaged minion to get that heal, so it's a little iffy.
Okay, touche. I like that.
Quickly.
How do you utilize these inner fires?
It really depends on whether there's still a Divine Spirit left in the deck, I think. if there isn't, you might just use it as a holy smite here, put it on the cleric, push face. And well, even if there were, the fact that he had 2 of them, oh wow,
Okay.
that looks like it's locking Sooni out of this one.
Yes, GeneraL is outlasting Priest.
Which is what you would most likely expect to see from this matchup, I think.
Okay, that works. Snip Snap helps.
Alternatively, just Galvanizer 2 Morden this turn. Put stuff in the way.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the Galvanizer put stuff in the way. I think that does make sense. And for the reasons you mentioned too, right? Like deny the card draw.
Cards.
Extra arms. Lots and lots of arms. Sooni doesn't have a way to get past this.
But next turn, he'll have Nomi active. So it's all about just hoping that there isn't more removal. And there's currently no Brawl in hand.
Yeah, and now it's another question is like, could Sooni have drawn a card deeper in his deck at any juncture of the game?
Yes, he could have Seon stuck to Sorry.
I'm not arguing there.
Okay, to be a bit more specific, I remember a turn where he could have fit in an Acolyte into a Circle of Healing turn, although that did risk overdraw at that particular juncture.
Sure. It's just things you have to think about and optimize at every corner of the game.
It's very difficult to say.
Not too quickly.
Yeah, we're using hindsight, which is very
2020?
dangerous. It's also 2020. Well, next year. So he's just gonna pass. There is value of slapping on extra arms. What is his last card?
Ooh, he was about to defensively Inner Fire.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If he defensively Inner Fight, I think I would have liked him to play extra arms again. Actually, no, he knows about the big game hunter.
Right.
I'm an idiot. All right.
So shield block definitely seems like it should start the turn.
I
Oh,
kind of like just the Snip Snaps as well. Snip Snaps
Oh,
and
true.
the Nightmare Amalgam. So you can actually launch a counter offensive.
I like that because he knows Nomi's active next turn. So in the worst case scenario of him not drawing the Brawl, he could maybe try and set up a 2-turn lethal. I haven't quite done the math if that's possible yet, though.
Right. I wonder if it's even correct for GeneraL to acknowledge the 6-5 versus just pushing damage and forcing the awkward Nomi play.
He probably shouldn't acknowledge it. Or if he wants to maybe protect the 2 Morden, he could attach 1 snip onto that.
Right, like let's say he attaches 1 to the Warden. And then the rest onto like Galvanizer. Okay, looks like he is going to acknowledge it. I do like the Nightmare Amalgam also being played here.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think GeneraL, because he also has Plague of Wrath, spreading out his damage is important
I'm
too.
out of cards.
Circle of Healing.
Okay.
Do you smell something burning?
So there's 17 showing on board. If GeneraL had gone face with the Galvanizer, he would have set up the 2-turn lethal. Again, hindsight 2020. Although I'm really unsure what GeneraL in particular was playing around.
I probably would have stacked the Warden instead since it's a taunt that gets in the way and
Right.
then push damage, but the point still stands.
That stacking the Warden was probably even better because that plays around extra arms trading over it.
Which I think Sooni is considering right now. But this looks like death either way.
Must consider.
Not quite. He could just take 5 trades in Plague of Wrath, and that only leaves 12 in play.
Sorry, I meant for Sooni. I think Sooni is dead.
Sure.
No matter what he does. He just doesn't have anything to actually finish the game. And he's going to die to fatigue before anything else.
There is a world where the Brawl is at the very bottom. I don't know what are the most dead draws for GeneraL. But if the turn was just
Ooh.
trading and Plague of Wrath, Sooni maybe could have gotten there. But
Well,
yeah,
now he absolutely doesn't get there whatsoever.
agreed.
Super Collider is the last nail in the coffin here. GeneraL, I think right now is just doing an inventory check of what Sooni could possibly have. And if he's able to land onto the correct conclusion, a round of applause. Because honestly, it's super late in Korea.
Yeah.
And we've been playing for about, some of us have been here for like 12 hours. So fatigue is a real thing. And if he's able to factor everything and account for all the stuff, it's very impressive.
Yeah, also it's just hard to remember every single card that's been played across three different decks in a lineup.
Especially after you've been slapped by an octopus.
Left and right. And
Well,
you really can't call this unlucky for Sooni because the Dr. Boom is in the bottom 8 as well.
Yes. I mean, it was a very winnable game for Sooni in a lot of points of the game. So I think this is definitely worth going back to the drawing board and reevaluating. But GeneraL ties up the series and stays alive. Both these players, one game away from advancing to day 2 at 6-1 and putting themselves in pretty good position to stay alive in this tournament.
Yep, I just want to see a Seanced Octopus now. That's the only thing on my mind. You started the cast by saying spicy octopus and dinner.
Yes.
And I am hungry, but now I'm stuck on this
Now
idea
you're more
of getting...
curious today.
True.
Yes. Which, is food for thought, if you will, Gio. Sooni, is he going to change anything? Probably not. I like his deck list up against Warrior. What I'm more interested in is whether or not his approach to the matchup changes whatsoever. I don't think the Seance on the Octosari was viable for that turn because I think he had 9 mana and he didn't have the ability to play like another Octosari. But it would have been hilarious.
It would have been pretty dang great. Maybe what we can criticize a bit more fairly is holding that Seance for Nomi.
Yes.
There was a good chance that the Psycho Pump that he used it on could summon a 4/7.
Right, but he also just like the Accolade just got brawled and like sort of Wild Pyromancer. Just like there's a bunch of like junk that like just died also. So I wasn't a super big fan of the Psycho Pump, but also to Sooni's credit, if he was able to get a little bit more damage because of that Psycho Pump instead of a Dead Ringer, maybe he would have won the game, right? He wouldn't have been short by 1 damage. So very reasonable assumptions on multiple ends, and has brought us to an equalized set at 1 game apiece. So let's go ahead and get ready for game number 3, where the winner will take everything. Well, okay, the score will change in a second here, but it is 1 game apiece. I told you.
Always Cleric.
There's gotta be like something where Sooni just has figured out the right way. It's like, you know what it is? It's like you gotta click on the right parts of the menu screen, the lobby screen, before you hit play.
It's kind of like holding down, was it Z to get Sheik instead of Zelda or something?
A.
A? Okay, that's my bad.
I mean, close enough. You got the general concept, which is holding down a button. Well, when you play Eternian Rover and you see the extra arms, tends to lead to a bad result. GeneraL's been put in a lot of tough spots here. I admire the way he's been able to pick himself out of these tough situations.
Playing any 1-drop, of course, gives the immediate threat of Sooni just getting a free draw off of one of them, but I think he needs to get something on the board. The Town Crier is looking particularly enticing to me because Restless Mummy seems pretty important to deal with the early threats.
Thing is, you could play the Town Crier on the following turns, not to play it right now.
True.
And
you could
now
play it.
Punish.
Playing it alongside another 1-drop makes it so that the singular Cleric can only deal with one thing at a time, so that actually makes way more sense.
And now GeneraL knows he needs to get that ready, plays level 1-drop.
Wow.
He's prepared for the extra arms. But is he prepared for the Power Word Shield? That's right.
This health total, if it's just healed naturally, means that Cleric dies to Restless Mummy. I am looking at Divine Spirit, no kidding. Or yeah, the More Arms rather. That's better for sure.
I like more arms.
Good on Sooni for just holding back there.
Yeah, and just thinking for half a sec. GeneraL can just let this go through and shield block here. Try to pick up the pieces on the following turn.
Yeah, don't think he has much of a choice.
He does have a choice to restrict the possibility of Divine Spirit and Inner Fire. Technically, in his mind, he could also be dead if his opponent switched back to the top 2 Turvy list and then doubled Divine Spirit. Something to be mindful of. Unlikely, of course, but
right.
Possibility.
He wouldn't actually be dead because he's at 34. And the
Oh, you're right.
yeah.
I'm just counting like 30. If he had Circle of Healing and all those combinations, then yes.
Wow, Sooni loves trading. I was just thinking of,
Going face.
yeah, even jamming some more arms. Granted, it doesn't play around coin Plague of Wrath, but that seems very specific and also very expensive from GeneraL's part.
Yeah, but it also is fairly important if he did land that, because I think that would stun all of Sooni's mid game if the Plague of Wrath did end up coming down. So I in hindsight, I actually do like that trade.
Well, also not shaving off the armor means that just Hero Power Shield Slam can deal with this if he doesn't add another set of arms onto this.
Yeah, that's right.
But the new set of arms puts it in BGH range. So it's like kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here.
I kind of like Divine Spirit in this spot. Kind of.
I agree.
I'm not a super fan of it.
You know what? I'll be the super fan. I think it plays around everything. Good spot, Dan.
GeneraL's like, what? Throws his hand up.
Well, it's actually brilliant, right? This doesn't get BGH'd. This doesn't get shield slammed.
Yeah. As far as we know, GeneraL's... Well, I think GeneraL is one surprised that he's throwing so many eggs into one basket.
The Cleric basket. If Sooni had to place all his money on any one card, it would be his girl right there, North Shore Cleric. Name a more iconic Tuno.
Yeah, and for this tournament, Sooni and North Shore Cleric are hand in hand. 2 peas in a pod.
And GeneraL, I think, is just forced to shield block again, try and cycle for something better. Maybe not forced.
Alternatively, he could just play Restless Mummy and chill.
It's really hard to chill when you're staring down an 18 health minion, but that might just be better.
Yes.
What that does is it sets up a sticky minion for an emergency brawl next turn, should that be the only way to remove a Cleric.
Or a Plague of Wrath.
Right.
But if Sooni draws Inner Fire, this game's over.
No tomb can hold me.
Yes, legitimately over unless the mummy trades. Yeah, and it probably won't.
Oh,
Wow.
man. And now there's ways to draw into it.
He can do something crazy, right? With Pyro, Seance, the Cleric, play another Cleric, and you can go circle for a bunch.
Right, just can't end the game this turn then.
And that's a legit consideration because putting more stuff onto the board gives GeneraL a better brawl, and then he's kind of expended this one basket full of eggs.
No tomb can hold me.
Trying to look for a way to both get the Circle of Healing draws and make the board end up so that you still have the one Cleric on board.
So you can Wild Pyromancer, Circle, and then extra arms.
Yes, that works.
That clears everything.
Very clean. Maybe not the most draws in the world, but I think...
Ah, wait. It leaves a damaged Cleric on the board.
For Plague of Wrath. Well, couldn't play around everything. But man,
That's the one I don't
yeah,
want. That's
yeah.
the because at least with Brawl, you probably have a minion stick on the board.
Yeah. And I think Sooni realized that too late, and so he's kind of doing a 180 and instead getting the draws while he can.
Man.
It was a tough turn.
Oh, and this. Okay, so now so Sooni played the extra arms from the right side of the hand, implying that he top decked it when he had a copy of extra arms on the far left. Now General gets to do the same exact thing because he's holding Plague of Wrath on the far left, but he just drew his second one. So he'd be like, "Oh, look what I got!" Do it, Karma. He's thinking first if this is a good play, and it is a very good play.
It is the giga good play.
the Giga good play. Can we go deeper? It's the Terra good play, but it doesn't have the alliteration, which is fun.
I'm trying to think about what his game plan is following this because he doesn't have much in the way of threats. It's probably just remove after remove after remove. And now Sooni having that first big cleric removed probably means that the initial game plan is out the window of just trying to stick a minion and get there with the Divine Spirit Inner Fire. So maybe he's already starting to think ahead towards the future, towards Chef Nomi and Seance.
Yes, friendship with Northshire Cleric ended. Now Chef Nobi is my best friend.
Granted, the 4/7 injured Blade Master still presents a possibility for a lot of damage, but with one Divine Spirit out of the way, GeneraL can probably breathe a lot easier. Triple Warpath can deal with 2 of these.
Yep. And it is a Northshire Cleric that's going down, which means the card draw engine from Sooni takes another big hit. It can resurrect through the form of Reborn. Okay. I wasn't really expecting a Ziliax here from GeneraL, considering that it might be an important rebound mechanic from GeneraL.
Yeah, it was last game very relevant when paired with the Omega Devastator.
Oh yeah, it ended up giving him, it actually helped him win the game. Wait, is Sooni just doing this? Wait, he resurrected the Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah,
so he's gonna
would
damage his own board and kill his own Psychopomp, which makes his own Psychopomp worse.
Yep, and it would damage his Blade Master for second Plague of Wrath if that's anywhere on Sooni's mind. So maybe he's just chilling for now.
He wants to dump his hand pre-Octosari. So I guess you throw that in.
Yeah, this is one way of dumping stuff. Sooni just needs to choose a definitive game plan, I think. What I think may have hurt him last game is kind of going back and forth between, okay, I want the Psychopomp boards and the Divine Spirit Inner Fire versus, okay, I want the Octosari into Nomi game plan.
The indecision. Omega Dio makes his way into the hand. GeneraL can brawl this board. I don't think it looks... it doesn't look very good.
I'm still looking at Triple Warpath. It just leaves a 4/4.
Fair enough. And your opponent, you already did use a Plague of Wrath, so it's not like you need 2 Warpaths for
Right.
that.
Essentially, the other Warpath is not guaranteed to get a board clear, so might as well take one where it's pretty decent.
Acolyte Warpath.
Would leave a 4/1 and a 3/1?
Yeah, he's taking 7 extra damage to draw 2 cards.
Speak to me.
Seems questionable, but I do understand the want to draw towards Boon sooner than later. That's also a good one to pair with Armagadillo.
Also, by leaving things at 1 health, it makes the Cleric a little bit more... Not the Cleric, the Wild Pyromancer a little bit more awkward for Sooni. Okay, Deadringer. Deadringer, Coffin Crasher. So maybe that's a sign for Sooni to keep dumping.
You can also just trade off the Pyro if he wants to have freedom to use his spells.
Right.
Consider.
So in this position, trade off the 3/1, Hero Power, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, play Deadringer.
I'm looking at using extra arms somehow, because
Okay.
putting both of these at 6 attack seems really good to play around the BGHs.
Fair enough. So then we just play the spells this turn instead of the Deadringer Psychopomp, and then that leads us into Octosari.
I'm also thinking of Deadringer between the Blade Masters to play around Super Collider. Maybe that's too fancy.
Why would that be too fancy, in your opinion?
Not too quickly.
I'm not sure. I'm just kind of deferring to Sooni's play because I feel like he's had a lot of experience on the deck. But I agree that you caught me on that one. I think I shouldn't be putting myself down too much.
Yeah, you should have more confidence. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And I think Sooni's figuring out as much as we are sometimes. All right, so GeneraL, was his investment into card draw going to pay off? Does have a clear board with Warpath and Plague of Wrath, but he is accepting that he doesn't have a good way to deal with the Chef Nomi in a decisive way. He'll still have Brawl. So maybe Brawl's better here.
I'm looking at Town Crier to pull Restless Mummy. I think there's still one left, right?
Yes.
And that can deal with a 4-1 and a 3-1. Decent, but not the best. He can fit a shield block on top of that turn. It's just a result of that last turn, you know, not using the last Warpath to instead get extra cards. Left all these awkward 1 health minions.
Oh man, he doesn't have much time for these animations.
Oh, so the remaining Plague of Wrath is very situational for it to work now. Like, he would have to stick a board to trade into stuff and damage them in order for the Plague of Wrath.
I mean, if he gets Dr. Boom, Snip Snap's like a really good activator for
True,
it.
yeah.
But you're right, outside of that, it's a conditional removal now. Okay, so Sooni picks up the Coffin Crasher. Can now think about ways to dump the hand.
Consider.
I'm looking at the more arms for sure. Maybe it's time to just accept that BGH will happen at some point. I feel like an 8-8 trading into a 4-7, even if it gets BGH'd afterwards, it's done its job, in my opinion.
That's fair. I like it. You have gotten a lot of mileage off the Ninja Blade Master. Looks like GeneraL picks up another Brawl. But yeah, the Restless Mummy here in this spot is probably what GeneraL is going to look for.
Alternatively, the 2 Mardens just seem to challenge the board pretty well.
Oh yeah,
Could start with
buff.
the Town Crier anyway.
Yeah, the 2 Mordens getting the buff is really important. It's just that one of them gets challenged really easily by the 8-4. Does GeneraL have an alternative besides the 2 Morden or the Restless Mummy, which both seem kind of meh? 2 Morden is just stall, which is, I guess, good enough here.
It's that same problem where if he chooses to use removal here, then the Octosari has charge, quote unquote. So just mummy into the 8-4, I suppose, and deal with the Octosari on another day.
Yeah, I think he was hoping for Shield Slam. It would have probably made his life a little bit easier.
Also, GeneraL is not very good at drawing Dr. Boom, is he? Bottom 10 this game, too.
He was good in the first game.
Sure.
So, Octosari from the hand. Injured Tolvir.
You would have to be very unlucky to not get the Nomi. Well, not...
More unlucky than lucky.
Yeah, but not crazy.
He's more likely to get it, for sure.
6 out of 9 chances.
I do like the timing of it, though, because he is guaranteed, if this dies, to deck out next turn. In that sense, 6 out of 9 is what, 2 out of 3, 67%?
It's...
Is it as clean as that?
It's like that's a rough estimate, but because there's like there's no replacement because the odds change every time you draw one. It's not exactly that.
Right.
But I couldn't do it on the spot if I tried. So, Omega Devastator is the easiest way to deal with Octosari.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
The rest of the turn seems pretty awkward though.
You could do that and then Dynamatic, or Dynamatic first. And, well, Dynamatic first means that Omega Devastator could land on the 8/8 afterwards.
Light the fuses!
I think he might be thinking of leaving up the Octosari this turn and then just devastating the Pop-In Crash. Or, oh, okay.
Oh, that worked out
Yeah.
perfectly.
We just didn't catch that, but that makes a lot of sense. That's your pseudo warpath. All right, so praying for the Nomi. You see Sooni
Oh
assuming
my
the
goodness.
position.
Wait.
Ah!
Wait.
Oh!
Oh!
Whew! That was very nearly a disaster.
And GeneraL is looking for the Nomi. No Nomi.
Whew!
Do you want to say something burning?
Seance. Okay, but GeneraL's still sitting on the double brawls.
Right. So the double brawl means that GeneraL should be able to at least answer the wide form of the board.
Yeah, and he has the Devastator to remove whatever remains unless he high rolls the 1 and 8, in which case he can just play whatever. Probably a Snip Snap.
Okay. The expected outcome. You know, if you... I'm trying to think if you Mega Devastator and you set it for like a better turn in the future.
Yeah, if he doesn't remove this, there's still the threat of the Divine Inner Fire. If GeneraL is, you know, a god at keeping track of what Sooni has and hasn't played, and he can also tell by what has been fatigued, he should also know that a Power Word Shield is left. So the max damage there was 16, I think.
Right.
Still could have been safe technically, but that's not a nice spot to be in.
Is that really... Is that good enough for him? I mean, the brawl here is still very much called for, right?
It's gonna happen for sure, but how does he deal with the remaining 6/6?
He could throw in a couple of these smaller minions to increase the chance he wins the brawl.
What
Or alternatively, he can brawl and then coin it like Security Rover.
I am looking at that.
You do know, okay, so you should know his last cards are Power Shield, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire
Right.
to get you.
So
that
16.
16.
So he's technically safe.
Yep, so I don't mind throwing in the stuff here.
What now?
Playing a Security Rover, though, means that if the 6/6 does not kill it, it can spawn taunts. Granted, he should also know there's a silence remaining. It's very close.
I do find it quite amazing still that GeneraL hasn't found Dr. Boom.
It is pretty
That makes this
amazing.
matchup a lot harder. It's doable, it's just a lot harder. Chef Nomi survives. A Met and injured Tolvir.
That seems like the best way to develop the board.
It's the only way to develop the board, really.
True.
I see a dark future.
And if Sooni does that, does Sooni not use the Divine Spirit Inner Fire, because then it gives him multiple prongs of attack.
This is a very complicated setup. I kind of want to have the Tolvir there just because it's a minion that can attack if you play it now.
Oh. Wait. Yes, because if he does this, then Tolvir takes 3 damage. Oh, wait.
And then it gets buffed to whatever Ahmed is at -3.
Yeah, so 15. Now he has multiple ways to attack with the Inner Fire next turn. Wow, I love it.
Quickly.
It's a lot of health.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
That's a lot of stuff. Shield Slam.
So I think it actually has to be the 2 more. Oh, but there's a silence remaining.
Yes.
Yeah, because Sooni held on to the inner fires. BGH is not active. Super Collider is not active.
Oh.
That is next level 200 IQ.
Is that death? GeneraL, I think GeneraL knows.
I'm not seeing a way out of this because of the silence in hand. That's incredible.
Okay.
What
Let's think.
now?
Let's think. What if? Nope. I was thinking, what if you do something like try to create more taunts with Security Rover? You can't. None of it has rush.
Yeah.
You can try, but you will
Wow.
not be successful. Just a little bit too much life. And, you know, the circle of healing is also relevant, too, because if he coins and shield slams to get the damage breakpoint away, you can't do that either.
Yeah. Covered all his bases.
Yes, it covered literally every single possibility. GeneraL clearly upset, but I mean, it was a very well-fought series. Back and forth we go.
Wow.
And Sooni is the one who takes the series and improves to a 6-1 record.
Incredibly impressive fashion as well.
In a matchup where Priest is supposed to be unfavored.
Granted, I do think the Warriors' draws were poorer than average, but if Sooni did not play to the caliber he did, there was no way he was taking that game.
I agree. I think, you know, the lack of Dr. Boom, you can really see how dependent the Warrior class, or specifically Control Warrior, is dependent on it. Other forms of Warrior, are a lot of times even just not even playing Dr. Boom. Like I saw Bomb Warrior just like play Blast Master Boom, that's it. But when you're playing a defensive Warrior that needs to remove everything, you kind of need everything to have rush.
So that is just going to close out our day. All 7 rounds of Swiss have been concluded. I'm not sure if everybody in that round, but wow, what a day. It is now nearly 8:30 p.m. in Korea, which means that players have been at it for 10 hours.
Yes, we've had a very long day. I believe this marks our 12th hour. So it's been a wonderful journey so far. But after 7 rounds of Swiss, we have, I believe, 1 player that's undefeated so far.
Yeah, let me take a quick look at the bracket here. Fill in for me while the Wi-Fi tries to get itself together, Dan.
No.
No? Just straight up refused. Okay, 3 people at 7-0. That is a notification from Drew Higby instead of Battle 5.
Cool. Thank you,
Okay.
Drew. And of course, thank you, Gia, for putting up with me.
Okay, we got it. Number 1, Zim. I'm not too familiar
Yes.
with him, but Dead Draw at 2. And Staz 7-0 with Bran Hunter.
Wow.
That is really impressive.
What is Zim playing?
I have
If you click-
unsure.
If you click on him.
It's going to take another few seconds, Dan. And I also want to shout out a bunch of people at 6-1, a very respectable score. We've had Casey, Sooni, as you guys just saw. Tar is in there. Topo Pablo and Empanizado, Latin America, having some
Topo
strong,
Pablo also playing the Brand Hunter.
yeah, strong representation.
Good stuff all around. And I think that's what the whole point of the Masters Tour is, just to try to get people's eyes on the rest of the competitive Hearthstone scene. Are we waiting for Okay, looks like we're going to update standings in just a
Awesome.
second. We're looking at the Battlefy website, so battlefy.com/HSEsports, playhearthstone.com/esports as well if you want to follow along with us. Tomorrow we're going to be doing 5 rounds of Swiss, and then we're going to do the dual tournament. And then on Sunday, we're going to do the finals of the dual tournament plus the top 4 single elimination, where they get to play best of 5 specialists.
Yes, and that one is for all the marbles. I think as long as you make top 8, you're guaranteed at least $10,000, which is
right.
insane. And it really scales with every win to exponential heights for sure.
Yeah, it's $100,000, and then, you know, second place gets 50K, and so on and so forth as you break it down. Any thoughts on day 1 while we're waiting here for everything to update?
Yeah, I think that whole question we posed at the beginning of what can beat Mage has been answered. Priest is the breakout deck. I'm calling it.
Yeah, I mean, Mage actually lost to a lot. It lost to Rogue today. It lost to Hunter. It lost to itself a lot. Even Shaman. Shaman had a really good win rate against Mage for a long time. Let's go ahead and check in the standings for the final of day number 1.
Yeah.
Zim, Dead Draw, and Stats, as you mentioned. But Casey, Yang Bong-goon at 5, a Prior at 6. They're doing this on purpose, by the way. 7, Sooni, Tars at 8.
Yeah, Tien Rae at 9, Magoho at 10, JS5, 11, Topo Pablo and Panizado, as we mentioned a while ago, at 12 and 13, respectively. Debak, I know that Debak means like awesome in Korean, so I'm just going to call him awesome at 14, Unit at 15, and Hatul at 16. So I did just get to check that Zim is indeed playing Mage, so the King of the Hill is still Mage at the moment, but that does not speak to its overall strength in the tournament.
What's Dead Drop playing?
Come on, Dan. You can't just hit me with this while I'm on one page at a time. But I can tell you Staz is playing Bran Hunter, and Casey is also on Mage, Reno Mage. Yeah, we saw Sooni with the Priest, and I really have a good feeling about Sooni in this tournament. Because, one, because of his bond with Northshore Cleric, and two, because of his caliber of play. It's just been incredibly impressive, and just the way the lineup is built. Octa, sorry, man. I'd
That's
love
right.
to see that win Seoul.
I think one thing to note as well is that we do have a couple of Grandmasters players in the top 4, but for the most part, the Grandmasters all kind of struggle a little bit this weekend.
I did see a tweet of the O3L boys, Fino, Saiyan, and Tyler, just having a good time around Seoul. I don't think that's an L at all when you're in a city as great as this.
Yeah, at least for now. I mean, we'll see who ends up being the prime people in position to improve their standings and also maybe get enough prize pool to challenge Grandmasters. And if one of those players end up doing poorly in Season 2, they're getting relegated.
I mean, we
Doesn't matter
already
how
have
good
a,
you were last
we
year.
already have a story of that at this very tournament. Galen is now a GM because of his performance at Vegas. So there's a handful of people for which that matters even more, I would say, because they already had decent performances at Vegas. Names like Calax and Hypno come to mind. So a lot of stories still to be continued throughout the weekend.
It's going to continue tomorrow here on the stream, twitch.tv/play Hearthstone at 10 a.m. in Korea Standard Time. That's about 13 hours from now or so. Hope you guys enjoyed everything in the broadcast. If you missed any portion of it, or you want to check out anything about the players, the scheduling, or how you can join along the Masters Tour, check out playhearthstone.com/esports. That's it from us, from Frodan Gia, Derek Brown, and Brian Kilbert. Thanks for watching day 1 here of Masters Tour Seoul. We'll see you guys next time for more Hearthstone action.